It was supposed to be a peaceful Christmas, until they found a strange gift under the tree. A gift from the other side, and that's when the darkness arrived. But sometimes, the only thing that can save us is each other. The Christmas tree stood tall in the corner of the living room, its lights twinkling with a warm glow. But the brightness of the tree could not dispel the shadows growing within the family. The father sat at the dining table, a mountain of unpaid bills spread before him. His shoulders were hunched, weighed down by the unrelenting stress of trying to provide. Across the room, his wife stood by the window, staring out at the softly falling snow. Her face betrayed exhaustion, physical, emotional, and spiritual. The festive decorations and holiday music playing faintly in the background seemed almost mocking. On the couch, their teenage son scrolled mindlessly on his phone. He hadn't said more than a few words to anyone all day. His sister, barely 8, sat cross-legged on the floor, absently playing with an ornament she'd taken from the tree. Even she, the usual source of joy and energy in the house, seemed quieter than usual. The grandparents, seated side by side on the worn-out armchairs, watched the scene with quiet concern. The grandfather, a man who had weathered many storms in his life, could feel the fracture lines running through the family. His wife reached for his hand, her grip firm. They exchanged a glance, a silent acknowledgement. Something had to change. The atmosphere was heavy, yet no one spoke of it. That's when the youngest child noticed it, a strange package tucked beneath the Christmas tree. It hadn't been there before, of that she was certain. The paper was yellowed, brittle, and tied with an ancient ribbon that looked like it could disintegrate at a touch. Attached was a tag that read, "To you, from the world beyond." "Mom? Dad?" Her voice was hesitant, the curiosity in her tone tinged with unease. The family's attention shifted to her. "Where did that come from?" her mother asked, stepping forward. "No one put it there," the grandfather said firmly, his voice sharp with suspicion. The little girl, driven by a mix of fear and fascination, reached out and opened the package. The moment the paper fell away, the room seemed to shiver. The warm lights of the Christmas tree flickered, and the faint sound of wind outside turned into a mournful howl. Inside, the package was an ornate, old-fashioned snow globe. But it wasn't like any snow globe they'd seen before. Instead of a cozy winter scene, it depicted a dilapidated house surrounded by skeletal trees. The snow inside swirled violently, as though caught in a storm. Then, the whispers began. At first, they were faint, almost imperceptible, but they grew louder with each passing second. Words couldn't be made out, but the tone was unmistakably menacing. The shadows in the corners of the room seemed to thicken, stretching unnaturally across the walls. The warm glow of the tree was swallowed by the encroaching darkness. "Put it down," the grandfather ordered, his voice trembling. "Now." But it was too late. The snow globe began to glow faintly, emitting an eerie bluish light. The whispers turned into guttural growls, and the temperature in the room plummeted. The family huddled together instinctively, the instinct to protect and be protected taking over. The shadows moved. They weren't just creeping now, they were alive, slithering across the floor and walls like liquid night. One shadow reached for the youngest daughter, its form twisting into something vaguely humanoid but wrong. She screamed, backing away, but the shadow pursued her. Her brother, finally snapping out of his self-absorbed haze, dropped his phone and lunged to shield her. The father grabbed a chair and swung it at the advancing darkness, but the shadows passed through the wood as if it didn't exist. The whispers turned into deafening roars. The darkness pulled at each of them, separating them, isolating them in their fear. The mother shouted for her children, her voice almost lost in the chaos. It was the grandfather who broke through the panic. "Stop!" he shouted, his voice cutting through the noise. "We are a family. We face this together." His words seemed to have a strange power. The shadows hesitated, their movements faltering. "Take hands," he commanded. One by one, they reached for each other. The youngest daughter clutched her brother's hand. He, in turn, reached for their mother. The father, still trembling, took his wife's hand. The grandparents completed the circle, their grip firm and steady. As they stood united, a warmth began to radiate from their clasped hands. It was faint at first, but it grew stronger, spreading outward. The shadows recoiled, their forms writhing as if in pain. The grandfather's voice rang out again, filled with conviction. "You can't have us. We are stronger together." The shadows screamed a sound that seemed to pierce the very fabric of reality. They twisted and contorted, their forms shrinking as the family's light grew brighter. Finally, with a final, agonized cry, the darkness shattered into nothingness. The room was still. The family looked around, their breaths heavy. The tree's lights were steady once more, casting their warm glow over the room. The snow globe sat on the floor, its light extinguished, now looking like an ordinary decoration. They didn't need to say anything. Each of them felt it. The darkness had tested them, but their bond had saved them. For the first time in years, they truly saw each other not as strangers under the same roof, but as a family. This Christmas, they had rediscovered the most precious gift of all: unity. If you enjoyed this chilling holiday tale, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Spectral Tales for more spine-tingling stories. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Thank you for watching, and remember, sometimes the scariest things aren't in the shadows, they're inside us.